First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Swimsuit? Check. Sunscreen? Check. Phone charger? Check. Don't forget to pack the 5-Hour Energy. It fits great in a pocket or carry-on, and the alert feeling will help you arrive ready for anything. Now get 20% off when you use code 5HETRAVEL at 5hourenergy.com. Expires April 30th. One-time use only. Not valid with other discounts. Remember, visit 5hourenergy.com and use code 5HETRAVEL to save 20%.
My microphone smells like vodka this morning. Well, you know that happens when you use that disinfectant. The homemade disinfectant.
Oh, you're using the Apple Orchard brand?
So, yes. Good morning, Andrew. The TV feed is down. They are working on it. We have no idea because that's kind of not our thing. We're waiting to see what happens there, and we'll give you an update. Coming up. Let's see. There's much to get to here. It is 6. He's resetting it. Yeah. It's
I have reset it once
morning.
before.
You know, we're looking at not a complete washout today, but there might be some pretty good thunderstorms. But there'll be some sun and some potential thunderstorms through the day today, so we'll deal with that. Coming up in a few minutes, Tanya J. Powers from Fox News. On the vice president's trip to Guatemala and the rest of Central America. We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit. There's an interesting story in the OD today about Orgel that is opening up in Rome. That's quite a facility. It's funny how these things get started and it takes a while for them to be ramped up and rolling. But that facility is going to be opening up. We'll talk about if I seem a little disheveled today, it's because I am. Sorry. Let's see. What else do I want to get into here? Because my computer just doesn't seem to be working either. The Comets yesterday announcing that the AHL is adopting a 72-game schedule. And I was kind of wondering, what does that all mean? And I think we're back, by the way. What is that? Yeah, it is based on the shirt I'm watching Andrew with. Yeah, it is. So 72 games. I think in previous years it would be 76 games. Does that sound about right?
I think it is. That was the number I was going to say.
And so now for some reason they've gone to a 72 game schedule starting next season, not this upcoming season. However, the Comets, they gave teams opportunities to determine which they wanted to do, and the Comets have adopted a 72-game plan. So if you're a season ticket holder and you've already purchased your tickets for this upcoming 21-22 season, there will be a refund on the 4 games that will not be played.
Oh.
Does that make any sense?
And is it probably actually 2 games, right? Because those were probably 2 home, 2 road.
You're right. It's probably 2 games because it's 2 home and 2 away. I think you may be right. With that.
I wonder, is there one less team this year? I wonder if there's going to be one less team.
It is a change in the number of teams, and I think that is what has that's what's caused it.
For example, I mean, last year, this past year, the Comets were split between obviously Vancouver and St. Louis, and I don't know how many other teams.
I don't think anybody ever thought about that because, there was the thing. Well, Binghamton loses the Devils. We're losing the Canucks, but we were going to probably get the Devils. But I totally forgot the element of whoever St. Louis was, whoever their AHL team was not.
Teams are disappearing. Or I don't know how many. There would maybe only one fewer team.
I think it is. It would be just one. I'm not sure that it's the Blues, and I could be wrong on the total number. But
we are officially, according to weather officials, we're officially in a heat wave. Although it is about to break, I think, by tomorrow, and we'll get some, as we said, some pretty good thunderstorms today. But 3 straight days. I'm pretty sure we've hit at least 90 degrees.
Well, Richard was claiming yesterday, and
maybe we didn't. Maybe it only hit 89 one day. I don't know, but and I guess maybe that wouldn't constitute a heat wave. But give me a break. That's a heat wave.
Yeah, this was from yesterday. I think he said both Saturday and Sunday here, it was only like 88 or 89, but in Syracuse, they set a new record. Saturday, Sunday, here we go.
Syracuse hit 93, I think.
Yes, he's according to Richard, he said official highs for us both days were 89. Syracuse broke a record on Sunday at 93, reported at Syracuse.com.
Yeah. I kind of feel like we still hit 90, at least on one or two of those days. It was, at least that's what our thermometers were saying. And, I get it, that's not accurate. But temperatures do vary. So while it may not have hit 90 out at Griffiths or wherever we actually make it official, it certainly felt like we were pretty close. So I'm no meteorologist, but I would certainly call this a pretty good heat wave.
So, and you say it's
been hot.
It's going to break this week. That's unfortunate. You're going to break summer before we even get there.
Well, and I think the high on Saturday is only going to be in the low 70s.
Oh yeah.
So it'll be very mild and cooler nights and that sort of thing. That's what we're going to be looking at least for the next week as we kick into the weekend. So. But today's still going to be up into the mid-80s. It's still going to be quite humid, and we'll be dealing with that. This kind of interesting. Speaking of the weather, officials, science is saying that we have hit the highest carbon dioxide levels in how many years, do you think?
Ever.
I'd like to know how we know this, but
ever.
I guess it's because it's ever. So they're saying 4 million years. These are the highest levels. The record was broken, I believe, 4 million years ago.
Moses once counted 3.8 million, whatever.
Yeah.
4 million
National
or billion?
Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration said the average carbon dioxide level for May was 419.13 parts per million. That's 1.82 parts per million higher than May of 2020 and 50% higher than the stable pre-industrial levels of 280 parts per million. According to NOAA and the climate scientists there. Carbon dioxide levels peak every May just before plant life in the Northern Hemisphere blossoms, sucking some of that carbon out of the atmosphere and into flowers, leaves, seeds, and stems.
Well, I'm going to say don't blame us because we are the most aggressive carbon cutters, aren't we? In the United States?
I guess we are. We, as a country, we're pretty good.
Don't look at us.
Yeah. Interestingly, I discovered a new bee that I really think I've never seen before or maybe never paid attention to. I have this little area, my little tiki hut that I built a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, I'm looking around the stools all around it, and there's sawdust all over the place.
Ooh.
And I'm wondering what's going on. And there were these drilled holes that I think these bees were finding their way into. I thought it was carpenter ants. Turns out it's a carpenter bee. Have you ever seen a carpenter bee?
No.
It's a little bit smaller, just slightly smaller than what you'd see it and think it's a bumblebee. They're kind of slow-moving, very large. And it turns out those weren't pre-drilled holes. They basically drill holes into wood that look perfectly round, perfectly circular. And they go in, up, and then they go over, almost creating a 90-degree angle. And they burrow back in. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 or 4 feet back in across wood and usually it's under a ledge of some sort to be able to prevent the water, the rain, and that sort of thing. But they lay eggs, and then they wait for them to hatch. The male does not sting; the female does. Ooh, you okay over there? Hearing about bees, you getting a little skeevy?
We got to put a.
Oh, is it coffee? Is it coffee?
Oh no!
Yeah, Angelo.
On a nice shirt, on a nice new shirt.
Coffee went down. Not good. Oh, yeah, it's all over
every time. It's because you're here. It's because you're here. By the way, and I was about to say, this is another predator taking American jobs. First you have the immigrants, now you have the carpenter bees.
Yeah.
But then I thought about it. And Americans, they really don't want those 90-degree jobs.
Putting contractors out of work everywhere. Have you ever seen carpenter bees when you're in a house?
I have seen holes like that, but I always thought
perfectly round holes that go. I'd never seen it before.
That's some scary stuff. They don't sting?
The females will sting, but they're not common for stinging. Okay. They're big pollinators. So everywhere I've gone, it says not to, don't kill them.
The ones I fear most.
Don't kill them. All right, they're not going to sting you, but
they're drilling holes into my wood.
They're drilling holes in everything.
Yeah, let me guess. You want to put them in cages, huh?
Yeah.
You want to hold them in cages.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I will say that I did read about them after I killed a few. So I'm sorry I killed a few. You know how I killed them? WD-40.
Oh, yeah?
You put them down the holes?
It works up the holes, Andrew. Remember, these holes are up underneath like a roof ledge.
Oh, like that?
Yeah. Anyway, so I have some dead ones. I think 5, but they're huge, and I'm assuming that killed the larvae. And there you go. This is yet another bug invading the neighborhood.
And Richard says it's possible that you felt that way this weekend, that it was actually warmer than 89 was because of the heat, maybe, and humidity. Although that seems to have ticked up today.
Listen, I can only tell you this: when it's 89. I'm not sitting there saying, yeah, it's 89, not 90. You know what I'm saying?
I completely agree.
It was hot.
I completely
That's all
agree.
I'm saying, Richard. We talked last week that there was a lot of discussion, a lot of angry Syracuse fans in lacrosse because the one sport they are known for. I mean, obviously it's a football school, but Syracuse lacrosse is the standard for lacrosse, college lacrosse.
Yeah.
And they had a couple of terrible defeats, and people were calling for the longtime coach to be fired. Well, the longtime coach has retired. That rumor turns out to be true. Syracuse announces Gary Galt as the new men's head coach, and there's an interim coach for the women as well. The women lost a pretty tough game. They were also favored in the NCAA tournament and lost in their championship game. So I don't know all that much about lacrosse, but it is a big deal. And for fans that I know, they were livid that Syracuse was getting clobbered like this.
Yeah, they weren't used to it.
I guess so. Yesterday, the governor saying that COVID restrictions are going to be basically eliminated
Today, right?
Well, once we hit 70%.
The number Jim had in his story about it was that statewide we're at 68.6%.
Yes.
So I think we'll hit the other 1%, if not today, tomorrow.
They needed 7 more people.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Yes,
so,
they were still twisting the arms of the alleged harassment victims from the governor. Just take the shot. We'll settle something.
You're going to be fine.
And respond to the census next time.
Yeah, so pretty much everything will be eliminated. However, the mask mandate, I believe, is remaining in place in schools, and you'll probably see that in schools through. I mean, I don't want to predict, but my guess is there's a good chance you'll see that remain in place in schools for the next couple of weeks, and then it'll be lifted for the fall. How about James Taylor coming to the amphitheater out in Syracuse?
Yeah, that'll be cool.
James Taylor and the Steve Miller Band. Pretty excited.
Really?
But that's a show I would like to see. I've never seen either one of those.
And Jackson Brown.
I'm sorry, not the Steve Miller Band. Jackson Brown.
Another
one though. Another one I'd like to see. Jackson Brown. I'd like to see.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. Let's see here. I've been watching a show that actually shocked me, and I don't want to give anything away to anybody, but in case you're watching it. But I've been watching a show called The Kaminsky Method.
I've heard about that.
It's on Netflix, and it's Michael Douglas along with another older guy who I don't want to get into what's going on because it would kind of give it away. But anyway, there's a big push right now, and they've referenced it 3 or 4 times. He's an actor. He's an acting coach, an old actor, and, there are opportunities and things going on. It's kind of a family drama type thing. And if you remember War of the Roses, Kathleen Turner played his wife in War of the Roses. she looks completely different. I can't even believe it. And so does he, but she looks completely different. Anyway, she's now joined the show. It's a really cool show. And it started out, I started watching it when I think Michael Douglas came down with prostate cancer. If you remember, maybe a couple of years ago.
Was it prostate cancer?
I believe it was prostate.
Because he had, I think we had talked about this.
No. In the Kaminsky came down with it.
Oh, gotcha.
He had the throat cancer that was caused by sexual activity.
He claims.
And his doctor's saying that's what's the case. But it is, it's kind of been referenced a little bit during the episodes, but not all that much. Anyway, they've been pushing this, and a lot of reference to it, this drink that he drinks. He exclusively drinks Diet Dr. Pepper and Jack Daniels.
I think I've heard some.
I've never heard of that before. Diet Dr. Pepper and Jack Daniels. And apparently he claims that in the show that he discovered the drink when they were getting high in college, and they got so excited over the fact that Jack Daniels and Diet Dr. Pepper are the same color. And apparently they had a very good marijuana laugh over that.
Oh, yeah. Of course,
anyway,
that was included.
It's become the drink. It's become his drink. I thought that was kind of interesting. Jack Daniels and Diet Dr. Pepper. Kaminsky method. One worth watching, I think, on Netflix.
I wonder how much they're playing up the Diet Dr. Pepper, because I'm just seeing all these ads. Yesterday, I got flooded, like 3 of them. I couldn't believe it.
It's a pretty popular Netflix show, and if you're Dr. Pepper, I think you got to be all over it.
Diet Dr. Pepper, now sugar-free with cherry flavor.
Apple announced yesterday some pretty interesting improvements, and a lot of what they talked about yesterday was about security and what your phone will not be able to do. But it did reveal that when your phone is listening, it's saying your phone, especially when it comes to third-party apps and technology, they will not be able to, your information will never leave your phone. That includes the recordings and the requests of Siri. So it almost sounds like if you gave access on your phone for an app, that app could be listening to you at any time, but that's going to go away. They'll still get the information that they need, but they won't be listening to you all the time. So when you talk about SpaghettiOs, all of a sudden you're getting SpaghettiOs ads in everywhere you turn, and you're like, I didn't even type it. I said it to my wife. Why am I getting all this SpaghettiOs stuff? Well, it's because people are listening to you.
And you're craving
or
them.
Computers are listening to you.
Siri, where should I hide the murder weapon?
Now you
don't want to say that.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Now the apps are actually asking if it's okay to track you.
Well, that's the new software that just went into place, and I always hit no.
Yeah. You're gonna get more ads. That's what they're saying, to avoid advertisements. I'm like, how does that? How does allowing myself to be tracked prevent me from being?
Well, it's allegedly the trade-off, basically. So you it's just like paying a subscription for an app that has commercials. You pay the $1.99 a month, and you don't have to sit through the commercials anymore.
Well, and I think this is going to change a lot of, like, for instance, do you know when you get for instance, Constant Contact is a mass email service that a lot of companies use. And so when you send out to 5,000 people, you can go into Constant Contact and discover how many people opened the email, how many people clicked through, how long or where they went. You can get all of that information out of Constant Contact. And what Apple is doing is they're saying on their computers, the iPad, and the iPhone, starting in the fall, you can shut that off, and they will not be able to tell. They will not be able to tell if you've opened the email.
Interesting.
I mean, what is that going to do for a Constant Contact?
See,
because they built a business around that.
Yeah, I wonder if they just want a piece of the pie, being Apple, but that's probably not the case. I'm just surprised that. So they acknowledge, because to me it is intrusive that anything I'm saying can be heard by some third party, or at least captured by a party and
if you read the fine print,
advertising.
if you read the fine print, you probably would know that it was going to happen. But
with
none of us do.
But with the constant contact thing, I'm physically clicking onto their page and clicking through content that they've provided for whatever, whether it's a solicitation email, whatever it might be. But I'm physically clicking the page. So to me, it seems more reasonable that I would be tracked that way.
It's in your inbox, though. So it looks just like it may look like a normal email that you would not be able to, that would not be tracking you. And when you open it,
tracking you?
It tracks what you do. It'll tell you whether or not you've